Hellmann's believes they can turn any mayo hater into a lover. So, if you know someone who thinks mayo equals bland, show their taste buds the truth and challenge them to try Hellmann's flavored mayo. With irresistible flavors like Hellmann's spicy mayo, garlic aioli, chipotle, and Italian herb, they'll be eating their words. Challenge haters to try Hellmann's flavored mayo and get them to eat their words. Learn more at hellmanns.com/eatyourwords.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance. Business owners, meet Progressive Insurance. They make it easy to get discounts on commercial auto insurance and find coverages to grow with your business. Quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers. Discounts and coverage selections not available in all states or situations.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome along to No Brakes, No Fear, the official British Speedway podcast. I'm Ian Brannan, and coming up in this episode, reaction to the fixtures on Monday night in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership as both the Bellevue Aces and the Leicester Lions secure their places in the top four.
Yeah, it's a good win for the team, and Becker's first match back after a broken back, so it's going to take him a little bit of time to find his feet, but I feel like he's not too far off, and a couple more matches and I think he'll be back to what he's good at.
Well, at the Adrian Flux Arena, the Kings Lynn Stars put away one of the biggest wins of the season in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership, hitting 63 past the Oxford Spires. Chris Harris getting a full 15-point maximum.
It's been a long time coming, Tammy. The last few weeks have been terrible, but no, I needed that, and pretty much back to basics. Changed a few things on the bike today, but it's my dad's birthday today, so hopefully he's out there looking down and
he's smiling down on you with that.
That one's for him, for sure.
And the main guest in this episode is Kelvin Tatum as we look ahead to the final four contenders in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership.
The aggregate, that's the key thing, isn't it? It's this aggregate. It's all very well winning by 20 points, but then you can get walloped by more than that, 30 points. But they're actually holding their own everywhere, pretty much. And that's very useful.
All this and much more to come in British Speedway's official podcast.
No brakes, no fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
But we'll start at the Hydro-Scanned Arena at Beaumont Park in Leicester as the Leicester Lions secured their ROWE Motor Oil Premiership playoff place with a 49-41 win over Ipswich in a thriller at the Hydro-Scanned Arena. Max Frick, the captain, completed a 14+1 paid maximum in Heat 15, combining with Ryan Douglas for a 5-1 over Tom Brennan and Emil Sayfutinov after the Witches had set up a last heat decider. Frick had earlier produced a remarkable move to pass both Brennan and Dan Thompson on the line in Heat 6, with the Lions' three heat leaders accounting for 11 race wins. That unbeaten show for Max Frick was backed up by 14 points from Ryan Douglas, 10 from Sam Masters, whilst Dan Thompson racked up 12+2 at reserve against his former club as he kept the visitors in contention. Well, let's get some reaction right now. We will hear, first of all, from Ryan Douglas speaking to Dave Rowe.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's been really good round here, but Ipswich are the top team in the league, so it was a great challenge for us before the playoffs, and they definitely pushed us, but it's a good win for the team, and Becker's first match back after a broken back, so it's going to take him a little bit of time to find his feet, but I feel like he's not too far off, and a couple more matches and I think he'll be back to what he's good at.
I said 14 points for a 5 ride. It probably would have been 15, but for the race being stopped when you were leading Dory, that must be a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I know. I was off one and he was off the outside, and I've done a really good job to stop him on the first lap, and when he got red flagged and rerun, I was like, I struggled to do that again, and obviously he's one of the best riders in the world, so got me on that one, but overall can't complain. Good night and good team win.
Do you feel like you're riding this track better than you ever have done? You've been here a few years now, you know the lines and everything else, but you seem to have this set up perfectly now.
Yeah, I think I'm getting there better and better. There's always room for improvement, obviously, but it suits me, and finding my groove. And I think as the season's gone on, it's got better for me as well. So always trying to improve, but I think I'm riding it at a good level now.
And you mentioned Luke coming back. That gets Lions back to their full strength team, the team pretty much you kicked off with Joe coming in at reserve, and the form looks good, and you've now got probably 4 meetings or so to go to really make things right for the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So we're definitely in some good form, so we've just got to maintain it really, and all the boys are feeling up to it. Sometimes by this time of year it's already starting to get cold and wet, and it kind of can put a bit of a dampener on things, and the end of the season can be difficult. But I think this year with the good weather and not many rains off, we're all kind of in the groove still, and I think the playoffs are coming at a good time for us. So you never know, it starts again, but I think we're ready.
And Sheffield Thursday night, gone well there this season so far, so looking forward to that one?
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, but it's been good results there but this year, but obviously they're a tough team there, and they can soon change that next meeting we go. So we're going to have to be at our best again if we want to push them close, and it's looking like we might be with them in the playoffs, so it'll be another test and a bit of practice around there if we have to go there.
Thanks, Ryan. Well done. Great meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, boys.
So the Leicester Lions will be in the playoffs come what may. Now, the Ipswich Witches had already sealed their place in the playoffs a couple of weeks ago. So despite losing the fixture against Leicester, really nothing in the grand scheme of things lost. But it does act as a bit of a potential dress rehearsal for should the two sides meet in the playoffs. Let's hear from Richie Hawkins, the team manager of the Ipswich Witches now.
Yeah, real competitive meeting. You know it's going to be here. They're in great form, and yeah, we could have improved in certain areas, but yeah, we've got the bonus point, which was important. So yeah, I'm not it's all right really. It's not, you come into one of our biggest rivals, I guess, to win the title. So we know it's going to be real tough, and I think it was good for us, because if we do end up here in the playoffs, then yeah, it was good to come here so recently, so close. So yeah, I'm kind of happy really.
Is that showing the power of the Leicester Heat Leagues at the moment? Certainly Max Frick, Ryan Douglas and Sam Masters all in very good form around this circuit, and that's actually given your top boys a lot to think about tonight.
Yeah, they're a very good team. I mean, they've got a real strong top five, so I think we've got a really good top five, so if they can match us really. So we'll have to hit them hard at home. And we're normally pretty good here, but Jason was obviously pretty sore and from his crash, which kind of affected him in his next couple of rides. Emil couldn't quite get dialed in like he normally does around here. But yeah, maybe that's a bit of testament to them as well about how good they were. But great to see Dan Thompson flying like that again.
Did that crash for Jason, and indeed when he twisted himself, I think again in heat 13, did that affect your call for heat 15?
Yeah, well, Jason wouldn't go out. I mean, he wouldn't have gone out. And then Dan was probably our fastest rider. He was certainly our best one at the start, but he'd been out
6 times,
11, 12, 14, and he was like, he would have done it, but if you think he's not quite there, then trust the experienced boys. I thought Tom was better than his actual return on his score sheet. So yeah. Lots of positives, and then a few areas we can improve on, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, you've changed the riding order a few times in the last few weeks, and it was working really well up to tonight. You probably can't legislate for certainly Danny not scoring around this track is incredible, and Adam also only scoring 3. That's obviously something you can't repeat should it be a playoff.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean Danny's normally good round here. He's just had a real tough night. Adam's not gone that great really, as he has been fine really, especially Ipswich, so he's not had the best night. We changed the riding order. We're in such a good position, and we can see pairings, and I mean Emil's going to be at 1 for the playoffs anyway. Danny's been riding very well at 2, so I just wanted to see Emil and Danny together again, because they haven't rode together very much. Tom and Dan have rode together a couple of times, because Dan could potentially go in the team and Adam at reserve. So to see what that combination would be like, I've seen it a couple of times and it hasn't worked this year. Hasn't worked. It was better. You could see tonight they'd improved on the first 2 performances together, and they'll go again Thursday and see what they're like at home. But overall, I don't think that quite works. So it's just about learning and stuff, and the boys are on board with it. They know why we're doing it. But we'll see what happens when we get to the playoffs.
And just finally, you mentioned Thursday. It doesn't make any difference for the league, particularly you're in the playoffs and you're quite well clear at the top. And I'm sure you'll be desperate to put one over Kings Lynn the last time you meet them this season. And obviously, your most disappointing night was in the cup against Kings Lynn, so it's still an important meeting for you.
Massively important for us, and we're going to have a massive crowd there, and we want the 3 points. We need to. We were really poor, bar Jason and Emma in the cup really. When they come last time, so we need to put that right. We need to give our fans, a good night against Kings Lynn again. But you say we're well clear at the top. We've got to go to Sheffield home and away yet. Leicester have got to race Sheffield yet. And if Sheffield win all them, they're going to finish top. So it does make I think it's a lot closer in reality than the league table maybe suggests at the moment.
Bring it on, we look forward to it. Thanks, Richie.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, Dave Rowe with the questions there to Richie Hawkins. Well, another side who officially cemented their place in the top 4 are the Bellevue Aces. They will contest the top flight playoffs for the 9th time in the last 10 seasons, securing their spot with a comfortable 58-32 win over the Birmingham Brummies. The captain, Brady Kurtz, scored a 12-point maximum at the National Speedway Stadium as the Aces returned to winning ways in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership after what's been a tough week or so on the road with defeats at Sheffield and Ipswich. Dan Bewley and Jamin Lidsey both scored 13 plus 1 from 5 rides, dropping their only points to former Aces favourite Mate Zagar, who supplied 2 of the race wins for the visitors, whilst Keenan Rue scored 8 plus 1. And the other fixture in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership was at the Adrian Flux Arena. The Kings Lynn Stars recording the second biggest score in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership this season, with a thumping 63-27 win over the Oxford Spires at the Adrian Flux Arena. Chris Harris racing to a full 15-point maximum for the Rampant Stars, with Richard Lawson on 10 plus 3, only denied a full house of his own when he dropped a point to Matt Sajanowski in Heat 15. All of the home side's top 6 were paid for at least 9 points in a thoroughly convincing display which saw them win all but one race and record 6 5-1s and 6 4-2s. The Spire's sole success came from Matt Sajanowski in Heat 6, both he and Peter Kilderman scoring 8 points on a night where number 1 Charles Wright was a late absentee and Rowan Tungate took only 2 rides due to mechanical issues. Let's hear now from the 2 team managers. Very different tale from either side. Rob Lyon and Peter Schrock speaking on BSN.
It has been, and we've had a full 1-7. Makes a massive difference, as Pete will vouch for, I'm sure, and shows you what could have been possibly.
Over the other side of the pits, we'll be gentle with Peter because it's a tough day at the office, huh?
It certainly was. We just haven't turned up, have we? There was a few highlights, with some of the young guns who we got in, and Magic got it together at the end, but we just haven't turned up today. So it's not about Kings Lynn wasn't being the better team. It's like we just didn't even give them a challenge.
Certainly missed Charles Wright though.
Yeah, but you miss when you got your whole team, but that's not an excuse. We've got good enough riders who could have picked it up a little bit, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's just not good enough, and it just sums our season up. All I can do is brush ourselves off and keep going until the end of the season, and then analyse it all and start again for next year, and hopefully have a better run.
Well, it's been a decent weekend or so for Chris Harris. 13 plus 1 for the Glasgow Tigers on Saturday. He got a bronze medal in the European Grass Track Championships on Sunday. And then on Monday, a full house for the Kings Lynn Stars. A 15-point maximum for Bomber. And he too has been speaking to Jason Harold on BSN.
Been a long time coming, Tammy. The last few weeks have been terrible. But no, I needed that. And pretty much back to basics. Changed a few things on the bike today, but... it's my dad's birthday today, so I hope he's out there looking down and
he's smiling down on you with that.
That one's for him, for sure.
That pass, the boys in commentary were just talking about. I know you were left enough room, but you still got to go for the gap, yeah.
Yeah, I knew Magic would be. He's not a dirt rider, so I could trust him. But I was ready to put the brakes on if needed, but I got a good drive come out the corner, and the bike was working good tonight, so. Yeah, and making some good starts. We did have a few problems. We did burn a clutch out in my second rise. We had to change clutch plates there, but other than that, it's been a pretty solid night.
Yeah, it has. And you have been voted by the BSN viewers Rider of the Night with your full house, so congratulations.
Thank you.
It's as you say,
check in the post.
Yeah, we'll write you one out. I think are these actually gating gloves that you've been wearing tonight?
I won't wash them because they seem to work.
Yeah, don't change what works. Brilliant night for you. You've got to be confident of the bonus point going back to Oxford now.
Yeah, it was a good team performance. On paper we should hopefully get the bonus point, but Oxford are very good on their home track as well, so they could easily do it to us. So we've just got to be on our game and just go there and just attack it like we did tonight.
Makes a difference having a 1-7 full team, doesn't it?
It does. That's been a long time coming as well, so it's nice that Ben's back and he's been going good.
Well, we're going to talk more about the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership and the playoff places in just a few moments with Kelvin Tatum. But before we do that, let's have a look at how things look in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership table after those fixtures on Monday. Here is the state of play. Of course, 24 fixtures each is what we're working out to. Ridden 21 at the moment, and top of the table are the Ipswich Witches. They've got 40 points all told, which is 5 ahead of next placed Bellevue, who have ridden one meeting more than Ipswich. They've ridden 22, they're on 35 points. The Sheffield Tigers are third, they've ridden 19 meetings and they're on 34 points, so they have the most meetings in hand, the Sheffield Tigers, and certainly could come up on the rails. And the Leicester Lions are in fourth place, they've ridden 20 and they're also on 34 as well. So those are the 4 teams. The finishing order, who will finish top, second, third and fourth, that is yet to be decided. As you've just heard there, it is very tight indeed between, well, really all of them, but particularly second, third and fourth could go either way yet. Fifth place are the Kings Lynn Stars. They now cannot overhaul the Leicester Lions. They've ridden 20 points and they're on, they've ridden 20 meetings and are on 21 points. The Oxford Spires are sixth. They've ridden 22 meetings, so got 2 meetings left to go, and they're on 11 points. And the Birmingham Brummies are bottom of the table, 7th place, 22 meetings ridden, 2 remaining, and they're on 6 points. That's how things look in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership. And of course, just a reminder for the playoffs, it will be first versus fourth and second versus third. So currently it will be Ipswich versus Leicester and Bellevue versus Sheffield as it stands now. But that will definitely, you would think, shake up a little bit between now and coming the reckoning in a couple of weeks' time. Let's just have a look at the plan for the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership for the week ahead. And looking ahead to Thursday, league leaders Ipswich facing Kings Lynn in a big local derby at Vauxhall on Thursday. Sheffield are chasing a first win of 2025 against Leicester, the sides also being potential playoff opponents. And there's a high noon War of the Roses showdown at the National Speedway Stadium, Bank Holiday Monday, next Monday. Bellevue facing Sheffield. Elsewhere, the curtain comes down at Perry Bar with the Midlands derby between Birmingham and Leicester, whilst Oxford face Kings Lynn at Cowley. And that fixture will be live on TNT Sports as well. So that's the week ahead in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership. And speaking of TNT Sports, Kelvin Tatum is with us next to look ahead to potential matchups in the playoffs and the state of play there in the next part of No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
I'm Ian Brannan, welcome back. Now, if there's one phrase that I've heard in interviews more than any other at this moment, it is the business end of the season. Every time I hear that word, I want to ring a little bell. But anyway, that's where we are at this moment in time as we get towards the playoffs. And now we know our 4 teams who will be making it through to the final stages of the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership season. One man who'll be taking in all of those fixtures and, of course, bringing you that crowning moment for that one side of those 4 who will be crowned the champions of the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership in 2025 is British Speedway legend and TNT Sport commentator Kelvin Tatum. And I'm pleased to say Kelvin joins us now. So, Kelv, we know your final destinations, the 4 places you'll be visiting, the 4 teams who have made it down to the final shake-up. You might say no major surprises, but you just never know in Speedway. But yes, it is indeed Sheffield, Ipswich, Leicester, and also the Bellevue Aces, of course, the reigning champions, into the final 4.
Yes, and as you say, no real surprise. It's been on the cards for some time. Kings Lynn were the ones that mathematically may well have been able to force their way in, but they just haven't haven't been able to find the form to do that. It's a shame, actually. I thought Kings Lynn would actually be a threat for the top four this time around in 2025. They had that experienced team, no real number one effectively, but always going to have a strong reserve. But unfortunately, it isn't the Dad's Army that we saw a few years ago with Peterborough. It just hasn't transpired with Rob Lyon. But yeah, the top four are the top four. It's all building up quite nicely. 3 matches last night, 2 convincing wins, and then a tight tussle between Ipswich and Leicester at Leicester last night, and that's interesting. I've got some thoughts on those 2 teams, but no, I think, as you say, the top 4 teams in the country. What way round they'll finish? Tough to call. I sense Ipswich may just finish top, but Leicester have got a few matches in hand, and Leicester are this team that just keeps surprising everybody a bit, you know. They've won away at Ipswich, they've won away at Sheffield, and they're very good at home. They've got a leader in Frick who is inspired this year. It's not just been like 5 or 6 weeks, it just keeps going on, doesn't it? This form that he has. And when you've got a rider like that in your camp, it tends to inspire others. Becker's back, he'll get better. Yeah, interesting looking team. But yeah, looking forward to it now.
Before we get into it with the top 4, let's just talk about Kings Lynn because, as you say, they did have a chance of making it through into the final shake-up for the playoffs. Fell short, and really, I think frustratingly, as Rob Lyon pointed out earlier in this podcast with the interview he did on Monday night, it just shows perhaps what might have been when they've recorded one of the biggest victories of the year this week against the Oxford on Monday night, hitting 63 points. And when that team is together and clicks, it was a great team. There's nothing wrong with the Kings Lynn team overall. It's just that they've not really all been able to put it together, or they've had injuries. Ben Cook on the sidelines, and perhaps he was out of the team for just a few weeks too long.
Yeah, as I say, that was a big blow, and with the shortage of riders, he wasn't easily replaced. They probably weren't quite sure how long he was going to be out for. Probably the rider himself didn't know initially, but it was, as you say, a complicated injury that took some time. Riding anywhere in the UK, to be honest, is more demanding physically than riding on the continent, particularly in Poland these days. But, you can point the finger at injuries. I think other teams have had injuries, but have managed to keep going. And I would argue that I think that Rob Lyon would suggest that they would have coped a little better with their injuries, but it hasn't been. It just hasn't been, and the torture for Kings Lynn continues. A team that I think a lot of people would like to go well and look to make the top 4. They seem to have put a team together this year that might have done it, but they haven't, and that's sad. I'd like to see Keith Chapman. He won't thank me for saying this because I'm sure he's heard it before. But the track at the Adrian Flux there up in Kings Lynn is a brilliant track. It always has been. The shape of it, the DNA of that track has always been terrific. But the surface he uses, I'm not a fan of it, and I think quite a few other people aren't either. I think if he could integrate something else with it, it would improve some of the racing there at times, and maybe make it slightly less physical, because it is a challenge. You see it. Riders do tend to get themselves in a bit of trouble. You only have to ask Jason Doyle that. He ended up the wrong side of the fence, but no, they're not going to make it. So a disappointing season for the Stars.
Yeah, and walking on it last night, it is one of those tracks, and you don't see this too often now. So you walk around Sheffield, for example, or even Bellevue, this doesn't really happen. But it was one of those where you are gaining inches on your height as you walk around, and you feel like you come off with wearing clown shoes because you got that much of the material stuck to your shoes. It really is a sticky old surface, and some of you say you don't see it so much these days.
No, it's something back in the day when I was riding. It wasn't that way. It was regular shale, and as I say, it was quite different to ride on. But in recent times, that's the way it's been. I think it's biased a little bit more towards the stock cars, and which obviously financially is beneficial to the club and to Keith. But it is a bit of a compromise, I think, for Speedway. But that's the choice, and And that's what that's what riders have to deal with.
Certainly no problem for Chris Harris, though. He scored a full maximum on Monday night. So Bomber is on great form at the minute, and he's shaping up for it. Obviously, with Kings Lynn out of the race, if anybody does need the SOS, then playoff Bomber. It could be back in the game again, though, that said.
Yeah, he is a remarkable character, Chris Harris, isn't he? You know, his enthusiasm, he rides a lot. He rides, obviously, for Glasgow, Kings Lynn, he does world long track, grass tracks. He guest books everywhere. How on earth he manages to actually logistically get from A to B to C to D is it's amazing. And he's not a young speedway rider anymore. He's been doing it for a long time. But you're right, you know, I'm sure he'll be chuffed to bits to get a call up for the playoffs and try and win us again with somebody else. But Yeah, fair play to him. And those sort of conditions, actually, he's always thrived on throughout his whole career. When it's challenging, when other people don't fancy it, Chris just goes for it. And, you know, he's fair play to him. And that's why he's so popular, isn't he? You know, fans love him.
Yeah.
Fans love him. You know,
always entertaining to see. You never have a dull meeting with Bomber involved, that's for sure. And I'm sure it's not the last we've seen of him at Premiership level somewhere or another this season. So then, looking at the full shake-up then, Ipswich, they've been out there throughout the course of the season, really, and I think there's not been many days where they haven't been top, barring a few meetings here or there, but even then, when the fixtures have evened out in terms of matches in hand or whatever, they have regained their place there, and they are still 5 points clear at this moment. They've still got 3 meetings left to ride. And looking at Ipswich's fixture list, they've got Kings Lynn next on Thursday at Foxhall, but then home and away against Sheffield still to come. And that is obviously, with Sheffield also being in the top 4, going to be pivotal, really, for who finishes top.
Well, it will definitely have a bearing on it. Sheffield are very good at home, not quite as good away. I think Bellevue have been similar recently, very good at home, although Ipswich did manage to beat them in a super heat a week or two ago. But they were missing Jamie Lidsey that night. But, we've been around, apart from next Monday when we see Oxford and Kings Lynn on TNT. To be honest, we've been actually sort of looking at some of the dress rehearsals for the playoffs. And that particular home and away against Sheffield and Ipswich, could very well be a semi-final. It could be a semi-final. We don't quite know which way it's going to end up, but I would think the favourites to finish top in the regular season are Ipswich. I would think so. Leicester are going along nicely, but I think for Sheffield, as I say, they've made a change to the team. Nick Morris has come back in. Looks like he's going okay. He's going okay for Berwick. He got a lot of points. You helped me out there the other night, but I knew he'd got a big score, but he found it a bit more challenging at Allerton. But I think for him and the circumstances he found himself in and coming back into the sport, electing to come back into the sport, he's a rider that's going to be highly motivated to go well. So he could prove to be a positive for the Tigers.
Yeah, definitely. And I think coming in at this stage of the season, it's not easy, is it, where riders are at full pelt, you know, they've got their setups right, their fitness is up, they've got the confidence up, and coming back into a sport you haven't ridden for 2 years and then finding yourself very quickly in the Premiership riding, against the top of the table, is very much in at the deep end. And he does seem to be getting to grips with it and rediscovering what he's capable of, because Nick Morris was a strong rider, championship winner with Swindon and all that in his previous era. So get back to that fitness and that level of racing, and a valuable rider to be able to find at this stage of the season, really.
Sure, and I would say right now he's riding on adrenaline and he's over. He'll need to catch up, and he may just have 1 or 2 meetings where he just misfires, but generally, as I say, he has plenty of experience. He knows what he's coming to. It's not like he's somebody that's turned up out of the blue and doesn't have much British experience. So, I think that will be a positive for the Tigers. Whether it's enough for them to get to the final, I don't know, actually. I don't know. We'll see.
We certainly will. Sheffield currently in third place in the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership, but they have actually ridden the fewest meetings of those in the top four. They've ridden 19, so they've still got 5 matches to go. They're on 34 points, so just 1 point behind Bellevue, who have ridden 22. And for Sheffield, they've got Leicester next up on Thursday at Oleton. We'll come to that in a sec, because that sort of tale has a bit of a backstory to it. Then they've got Bellevue away, Ipswich at home, and then 2 away trips to round things off, away at Kings Lynn and Ipswich. So we're finishing off in East Anglia in style. But Leicester next up is the interesting one, because Sheffield have been unbeaten in all competitions until Leicester came along, and then Leicester beat them in the Knockout Cup, and then Leicester beat them in the first round of the ROWE Motor Oil Premiership as well. So very much they've got the upper hand on the Sheffield Tigers, knocking them out of the Cup. Leicester, of course, going on to be the eventual winners of the KO Cup as well. So they've already got silverware in the bag, and Stuart Dixon looking to make it a double.
Yeah, they are very quiet. Well, Stuart Dixon, that's not quite the way to describe him, quietly.
He's never been described as that before.
He'll let you know how well they're going, for sure. And he's quite a personality within the sport. But I think that Leicester Lions are doing remarkably well. And as you say, the confidence boost that you get by winning something is huge. They've got a rider that's having a fantastic season in Frick. They're back to full strength. And I quietly fancy them for the final.
Well, they made it last year, didn't they? So
yeah, I quietly fancy them again for the final. And quite possibly the lessons learnt from last year and running out of steam, because Bellevue just bulldozed them in the end. They just ran out of steam in the final. But I'd like to think probably that they will be a bit stronger, and it will be interesting to see. And that meeting on Thursday where Leicester go back to Sheffield, they've got a bit of a hoodoo over the Tigers, will be interesting, because there's no doubt that Simon Stead and his troops will be extremely keen with the change to the team. Morris in, Etheridge in. They will not want to be continually beaten. They will want to make sure that they pick up a victory at home, and just sort of maybe just pause the halt of the Lions, because they've been very good again, very good. You know, the champions Bellevue are looking okay at home, but away they're definitely vulnerable, very vulnerable actually. You know, so Leicester Lions are good home and away. You know what I mean? They beat 49-41 last night, but they're going to these places and winning at Ipswich, and they've won at Sheffield, and they're so the aggregate. That's the key thing, isn't it? It's this aggregate. It's all very well winning by 20 points, but then you can get walloped by more than that, 30 points away from home. That flip-flop that's going on. But they're actually holding their own everywhere, pretty much. And that's very useful.
And it's interesting as well that Sheffield haven't actually beaten Leicester at all this season. Their defeats were fairly heavy early on. They kept it closer the last time out when you were there with TNT. But you know, nonetheless, you know, it is obviously a bit of an issue for Sheffield that they know that Leicester have got the better of them on every occasion, and in some big occasions as well, such as, you know, the Cup semi-final. And looking down the list of the riders, the focus of course goes to Max Frick, who was tremendous, but also the other riders like, you know, Sam Masters was fantastic, Ryan Douglas, and then you've got a former Sheffield captain in Carl Howarth as well, which perhaps, you know, the intel of knowing how the track develops. He didn't score a massive amount of points, but he got 5, paid 8. So, you know, not bad overall. And maybe these issues, you know, Sheffield had Louis Kerr and Justin Sedgman scoring 1 point between them. That is probably the gap that Simon Stead's hoping is now filled with the signings they've made.
Well, it will be improved. Nick Morris scored, I think he scored 6 and a couple of bonuses, I think, when I was there last time. Maybe 6 paid.
He scored
9.
6, I think, every time in the Premiership so far.
Yeah, so, you know, I think he's been fairly consistent, and that's he's pretty much doing his job. I think there was more to come, but I think, you know, if you're scoring 6, 7, 8, I think they'll be relatively happy with that. Jai Etheridge, anything he picks up down at reserve, again, is a bonus. But for for Leicester when you come back, when they keep going back to a place, and those guys you've just mentioned, Frick, Douglas, Masters, they are confident going there. They know that they can score points, and they've got the bikes worked out, and they clearly walk into the place not intimidated at all. I think some teams do when they go to Allerton. I think they are a bit intimidated by that fast, slightly narrow track. You've got to ride on the fence. You've got to be quite brave around there. And I think the Leicester team don't seem to fear it at all. And the results prove that. So, to me, that'll be quite a dust-up, and there'll be a tension around that meeting. The playoffs, the teams are set, but I think from a psychology point of view, I think the Sheffield Tigers, if they want to win the championship this year, they need to win on Thursday night, and probably win with a bit of a swagger if they can. But that's not guaranteed.
Yeah, they'll be looking to send a message back to the Leicester Lions after everything that's happened between the two of them. But certainly, again, two sides to watch out for now, assured of the playoffs. Let's talk now about the Bellevue Aces. Now, Bellevue have got only a couple of meetings remaining. They've got Sheffield next up, which will be on Bank Holiday Monday, and that will be at the National Speedway Stadium. So Sheffield heading away to the National Speedway Stadium, and then they've got Kings Lynn at the Adrian Flux Arena on the 28th to round out their campaign. So just 2 fixtures left for the Bellevue Aces, but certainly obviously it makes no real difference now apart from finishing position because they're assured of the playoffs, but not two sort of fairly difficult challenges really, because Sheffield are not going to mess about, and Kings Lynn, as we saw heading to the Adrian Flux Arena, is not an easy trip at the moment. Now they've got their full side back.
No, I think I expect them to win at home. I think that as long as they've got a full side, I think that they'll be. I can see them winning that match against Sheffield at home on Bank Holiday Monday. I think the one away on the 28th is, as you say, could be a bit tricky for more than one reason. Not just because Kings Lynn Stars have got a full side. That is only a couple of days before the next round of the World Championship. And for Kurtz in particular, he has to be human. He is human. It's going to be on his mind. It's going to be on his mind. He's in touching distance of the ultimate prize. So will he, at the Adrian Flux Arena, which is a challenging track, if he's back in the traffic, is he going to give it absolutely everything? So I can't speak for him, but inevitably there will be, he has a big agenda, doesn't he? He has something else on his mind as well. Bewley seems to be able to put everything. He just looks at one meeting at a time. He's a bit more laid back. I'm expecting him to go well, but I would think Kings Lynn will win that. So, I think Bellevue Aces, and Mark Lemon has made this public. They are fragile away from home, and they need to look at themselves if they're going to win the championship this year. Because if they keep doing what they're doing away from home, they won't. They got beat by 20 points the other night. And I just think that, they're not good enough over the aggregate. That's the thing. They're brilliant. They can be fabulous at home, but they haven't travelled well this year. And if they're going to get to the final, if they're going to retain their title, they need to resolve that, and quickly.
And they probably, throughout the team, obviously they've got the strong, world-class riders in Brady Kurtz and Dan Bewley and what have you. But and they have really rescued them a few times, especially when it comes to the back end of a meeting, maybe a tactical, and then heat 13 and 15, and they've pulled it round with a few 5-1s to get themselves, pull those 10 or 12 points back and get them over the line. But elsewhere in the team, when they come up against sides that have got the second strings firing, the number 2s, reserves piling on points and all that kind of stuff, particularly say Ipswich, you've got, some strong reserves. That is where they really maybe are struggling.
Absolutely.
Elsewhere.
You've got Tate Ziske and Jake Mulford that often don't score the points that you would like. Norrick Bladorn is also a rider that frustrates. To me, he certainly, the last time I saw him, he didn't go particularly well. And to be honest, actually, the rider that really, I couldn't understand why he had, it was Zach Cook. Zach Cook at Sheffield, I think he scored 2 points. The previous week when he was riding at home against Ipswich, he was outstanding. And that therein lies exactly what you've just mentioned about his second strings. And Bladorn and Cook, they have to be more consistent away from home. if you're going to keep it tight for the aggregate. You can't just rely on Kurtz and Bewley. You can't. They can't do it on their own. You know what I mean? We saw them 3 times. Heat 11, I think it was, when he made a tack sub, and then they were in 13 and 15 as well, and they still got beat by 20 points. So there's a clear indication. And when you looked at the score chart that night, there was nothing coming from 4 riders. But that isn't going to do it. So they're going to have to get that resolved, and somehow those guys are going to have to up their game. But I don't see, I think Bellevue, unless they get Cook being really consistent and Bladorn finding better form away from home, they'll struggle to make the final.
Will be interesting to see who ends up riding who. There is significance in those finishing positions. I've heard it said that whoever finishes top chooses. That's not the rule anymore. It's first versus fourth, second versus third, and that is the way for British Speedway in general. So Championship as well will be the same situation. So first versus fourth, second versus third in the semi-finals of the playoffs. And then, of course, the winners of those two will face each other in the grand final, slam dunk showdown, centrepiece to decide it all at some point in probably October. You'll be getting your big coat by then.
Well, I'm hoping it will be in September, but let's keep our fingers crossed that it's the actual finals due to be run the last week of September. It is, on the 22nd and the 25th of September, because the following week is the Speedway of Nations in Torrent. So they'll be hoping that they can get it done then. Otherwise, it'll have to be pushed back to the second week of October. But let's hope that we have an Indian summer and the weather behaves.
Yeah, well, I saw that, I think it's Redcar in the Championship. They've still got to do the Knockout Cup semi-final, and they've scheduled that for like the last week of September, and I saw that, I thought, well, that means we're going right until until the middle of October then, whatever
the Championship, generally in the Championship does, doesn't it?
It's not supposed to, but
it does.
It does end up there. I've gone to November before, Kelv, in recent years.
Well, I can remember back in the day, I think I rode in a meeting on November the 1st or something like that. Ridiculous. I mean, it was crazy. But no, let's hope that we've had a good run with weather, really. And let's hope that we can continue on and get those meetings completed. Because not only is it good to, you don't really want people at the end of the season standing there freezing cold. And also conditions are compromised. So the meetings are compromised. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The tracks are
and
not
that's
good.
Not great. You know what I mean? You're getting to the conclusion of the season, the showpiece of the season, and you don't want it to be raced in conditions that don't show the sport off to its full potential. So let's hope that so. Anyway, keep our fingers crossed on that. I don't like the fact that there isn't more reward for topping the league in regular. I think you should be able to choose. You should have more reward for topping the table. Definitely. And to take that away and just say you've got to go to the team that comes in fourth seems a bit odd to me. I'm not really sure why that was changed, but it is the way it is.
I think it was for sort of clarity of being able to sort of second guess a little bit of who's going to be going where, and so people knew where they stood.
Flip side of that is that you then get meetings that don't mean anything running up to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is the lack of jeopardy in some of these meetings. Like this meeting, we're building them up, but if you've got 2 teams that are in the playoffs and can't fall out of the playoffs, so if they get beat, they drive away, well, okay, no problem. But actually having more emphasis on where you finish in the top 4, I think, is something that should be looked at. I've actually looked at it because they do that in the IPL, in the cricket. Where there is a lot of emphasis on where you finish in the top 4 before the playoffs. And it's actually quite an interesting system, but whether it would ever be adopted, I don't know. But it would make this period of the season really quite different. Every meeting would have more to race for.
Thoughts of British Speedway legend and TNT Sport commentator Kelvin Tatum, and you can hear much more from Kelvin, including his thoughts looking ahead to the Grand Prix coming up at the end of the month in Kelvin's own podcast, which is called Tatum Talks, and you can search that out on all good podcast apps and the bad ones as well. He's not fussy; he's on all platforms. So if you want to hear more about the Grand Prix and Kelvin's thoughts ahead of that at the end of the month, that's there now. So Search Tatum Talks. In the next part of No Breaks, No Fear, we will have a little bit of a roundup of what's been going on in the Cab Direct Championship and look ahead to what's coming up in the next 7 days, including over the bank holiday weekend, next on No Breaks, No Fear.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
Welcome back. So let's just have a look at what's going on in the Cab Direct Championship in this section. And the Glasgow Tigers secured their place in the Cab Direct Championship playoffs with a 55-35 win over Oxford at Ashfield. And the informed Tigers now targeting top of the table. They trail leaders Poole by just 1 point with 2 matches in hand. Chris Harris scored 13+1 from 5 rides. He was involved in 3 stunning races with opposite number Sam Masters, who beat him in Heat 10 before Harris hit back to overcome the Cheetahs captain from the back in Heats 13 and 15. Carl Howarth had a 12+1 on his return to the side with Dan Thompson and Villads Nagel both scoring a paid 11, whilst Masters, who himself got 12 points, was the main support and came as well with the likes of Luke Colleen chipping in with 9+1 on a day, which also saw the visitors' top 4 hopes extinguished officially as well. Let's get some reaction right now. We can hear the thoughts of Cammy Brown speaking on BSN.
All the boys, bit of shifting, shout out to Max, he's a bit sore, but he's okay, he'll be back soon. And I thought Kyle been off for a while, has been outstanding, absolutely outstanding tonight. But they've all been really good, and credit to Oxford. They've come with a team that's had a few injuries, and Peter's had a few problems to sort out, and they've put up a good fight. I always thought they would, and they did. So all credit to them as well.
And obviously Max, great to see him getting back up there. But the racing tonight has been phenomenal. I mean, when your team's that far in front, you kind of can relax a little bit and watch that. And I mean, we just saw Sam Masters and Chris Harris going at it.
No disrespect to Oxford or Peter, but I did relax a little bit tonight because you've seen it come in the last few weeks. The boys are starting to click as a team, and I think we can still have a bit more damage we can do, and we're going to try and do that.
Well, it's been a bit of a mixed week for the Oxford Cheetahs and the Oxford Spires as well. Poor old Peter Schrock has had a bit of a torrid week. But they did have a bit of respite 24 hours later after that fixture with Glasgow, where they got a victory over the Workington Comets. Workington themselves been fairly busy. They had a mid-meeting burst to overcome Edinburgh 47-43, hanging on for victory in a last heat decider at the GT Tyres Arena. The Comets were 6 points down at the halfway stage in that clash on Saturday, only to stun the Monarchs with a hat-trick of 5-1s to turn their meeting in their favour. Edinburgh still taking it to the wire with maximum points, Jonathan Grant and Paco Castagna in Heat 14, and they sent out the same combination for the decider. But whilst Grant hit the front again, Paco Castagna was kept at the back by the home duo of Troy Batchelor and Antti Viulas. The result keeps the Comets' hopes of a late surge into the playoffs alive, and their scoring was led by Antti Viulas with 11+1, Batchelor 10+2, Tate Zischke with 10 as well. And then, of course, the Workington Comets headed down to Oxford, where Oxford did get the better of them in that clash at Cowley on Sunday. So it's been a busy time there. The Redcar Bears have also been on the road as well. They edged out an injury-hit Plymouth 46-44 at the Coliseum to strengthen their position in the Cab Direct Championship playoff zone. The Bears made it a weekend double over the Gladiators. They stretched clear of the chasing pack in 4th place, and the result means now only Berwick and Workington can mathematically force their way in to the top 4 with the way things stand at the moment. So, looking ahead to how things are shaping up in the Cab Direct Championship with the week ahead, the fixtures coming up, looks a little bit like this, and the Poole Pirates complete their regular programme against Oxford on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Glasgow Tigers, who could deny them top spot, face an away weekend double at Edinburgh on Friday, with the Monarchs looking to confirm a playoff spot as well in that meeting. The Tigers are then at Workington on Saturday, with that match being a must-win for the Comets. As simple as that. Redcar also close to confirming a top 4 4 finish. They face Scunthorpe on Friday, and Plymouth round out their home league programme at home to Berwick on Saturday, with the Bandits, as we just mentioned, still in mathematical playoff contention, but that could be out of their hands depending on what else happens there. So looking at it then, the Edinburgh Monarchs, they can confirm their playoff spot. The Glasgow Tigers and Workington at the GT Tyres Arena, that one is live on BSN. That is a must-win for the Comets. And Redcar up against Scunthorpe, and that on Friday will also be on BSN as well, where Redcar win that, and indeed they're close to confirming their place in the top 4 as well. So things taking shape now in the Cab Direct Championship. And that is the picture for the week ahead in that league. Looking at the National Development League, the top 2 in the WSRA NDL, both in action, 3 o'clock on Sunday. The current leaders, Oxford, hosting the Steelers at Oxford Stadium, whilst Leicester take on Middlesbrough at the Hydrascand Arena, Beaumont Park. Bit of happier news there for Peter Schrock, as the Oxford Chargers are currently top of the National Development League. So the full programme for the week ahead, heading into a bank holiday weekend, of course, but first of all, we've got action at Oxford on the 20th. Oxford versus Poole, and Poole are a few ahead in that one. 48-42 the advantage to Poole, but Oxford be looking to close that one down and try and get themselves an aggregate bonus point there as well. Thursday, August 21st, it's ROWE Motor Oil Premiership action, and it's the Ipswich Witches versus the Kings Lynn Stars. Kings Lynn a couple of points ahead there, 46-44 at the halfway stage. Sheffield Tigers versus the Leicester Lions. Leicester have got the better of Sheffield on every occasion so far this season, and they go into that one at Oleton ahead on aggregate as well, 48-42 at the halfway stage there. Then on Friday, it's a big weekend in the Cab Direct Championship. Edinburgh versus Glasgow, a fixture that needs little introduction, but we'll give it one anyway. That's at 7:30 at Armadale. Redcar versus Scunthorpe at 7:30. Saturday, Cab Direct Championship, Plymouth versus Berwick at 7 o'clock, and Workington versus Glasgow. That will be at 3 o'clock. They're back to their earlier kick-off time with the light. They've been racing at 6 o'clock, but back to 3 o'clock. And then Sunday, August 24th, National Development League, Leicester versus Middlesbrough and Oxford versus the Steelers, both of those starting at 3. And then Bank Holiday Monday, ROWE Motor Oil Premiership, round 2. And it's the Bellevue Aces versus the Sheffield Tigers, Birmingham versus Leicester, and Oxford versus Kings Lynn. A busy programme, and we'll be back with another episode of No Breaks, No Fear next week. It will be later in the week, probably Friday or so before we get that out. So we'll round up everything that's been happening, and by then we will have a better picture of what's happening in the Cab Direct Championship, as well as things really starting to cement themselves in the Premiership as well, ahead of what will be a big weekend next weekend, and into September. There are still a few fixtures to round up as well in that first week of September before we head fully into the playoffs. So we'll catch you there next week. Have a great week. Enjoy your bank holiday. Enjoy lots of Speedway. And we'll be back to round up with another episode of No Breaks, No Fear in a week from now. Take care. Bye-bye.
No Breaks, No Fear. The official British Speedway podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.